Hi, it's Karen here from Dark Moon Emporium. Today I've been making a box to hold my disposable gloves. And I have to tell you, things didn't go according to plan. I try to use reusable work gloves as much as I can. A couple of reasons. One, it's better for the planet, and also it does work out cheaper in the long run. But sometimes I do prefer to use disposable gloves, and I have accumulated quite a few boxes of disposable gloves over time. However, sometimes they end up looking like this. And I decided that I was going to make a nice wooden box to keep them in. And the project did not go entirely to plan. This is Boxes.Py, and it's a box generator site, and it has a gallery of absolutely loads and loads of boxes and trays and drawers, shelves, all sorts of useful items. And my Mac has decided it wants to be fed. Okay, we'll feed you. And then we'll start again. Woo! Hang on, we're losing all sorts here. Okay, better now? Happy now? Okay, let's go back and let's start again. This is Boxes.Py. It's a wonderful resource if you want to make boxes with your laser cutter. It's got galleries of all sorts of boxes and shelves and drawers and trays, racks that you can put on your wall, all sorts of things. And it's definitely worth a look, and it's definitely worth a play with, but it can be a little bit daunting when you first come across it. So today I'm going to have a go at a two-piece box. Okay, so this is what I'm presented with, and I'm going to start off here with two-piece settings. I'm going to put in the measurements of my boxes, which I've already taken and I have here on this piece of paper. So the x-axis, I've measured that, and I want it to be 250 millimeters. That's a little bit bigger than the widest of the boxes that I have that I'm going to want to make a cover for. And then the y-axis, which they call the depth, I want 134 millimeters. So my H measurement, which is the depth of my box, I've decided that 50 millimeters is going to work fine for me. Now the HI, which I think stands for height inner, I can either make that bigger than the H, in which case there will be a little gap between the bottom of the lid and the base, or I can make it smaller, in which case when I take the lid off the box it will have a shorter inner wall, if you see what I mean. Okay, I'm going to leave that as it is. So here's my first mistake. You see that tick in the box there? I should have deselected that. I'm happy with the play between the two. It's 0.15, so it means that the inner wall and the outer wall will have a tiny little gap between them. I measured my plywood and it came out as something like 2.9 something, so I'm going to leave it as 3. I don't want the parts labelled. I'm going to turn off the reference square. I don't want it. I've always found the burn correction to be absolutely fine. The other thing that I'm going to change are the settings for the finger joints. So I like the finger joints to be a bit longer and to have fewer of them. It's a personal choice. So I'm going to change the length of the finger to 3, and that's the multiple of the thickness of the wood. And I'm going to put the space between them to 3, and I'm going to leave the width as it is. There's nothing else that I really want to change. So now I'm going to hit generate, and this is the plan that it gives me. So if I go back to my settings, and if I change the width of the finger to 4 and the space to 4, and oops, where's it gone? Generate. So can you see the difference? So that was the first one, and this was the second one, and that is the one that I actually prefer, so I'm going to live with that. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to download. I've opened Xtool Creative Space and I am in the D1 workspace, and I'm going to do some preparation work before I actually bring in the image and start working on it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the canvas menu and I'm going to add a canvas, and I'm going to rename one of the canvases to base and rename the other one to lid, and close that out for a second. I'm going to bring in a rectangle, and I'm going to hold down my shift key so that it's a square, and then I'm going to make it 300 millimeters aside, and I'm going to copy that, go to my lid canvas and paste, and pop that in there. And let's go back up to base just because. And one more thing I need to do before I bring in my image, and that is to make sure that I've got the import settings set to keep its size. I usually work with autoscale it, or ask me every time, but today I want it to keep its size. I don't want it to change the dimensions of my image at all. So that is as it should be, so I'm happy with that. So now I can go over and I can bring in my image, and the image I'm looking for, it's called two-piece. So as you can see, that is much too big to fit on my little 300 millimeter square baseboard here, so I'm going to have to do some work on it. So as this is the base, and first of all I want to identify the pieces that I want. So I want that one, and the base pieces are smaller than the lid pieces, so I'm going to have to get rid of some of these pieces. So first of all I'm going to ungroup everything, and I'm going to lock that base piece. I don't want that getting in the way. So this is my base, so that's part of the lid, so I'm going to just delete that, and these pieces are for the lid. You can tell because they're slightly bigger, so I don't need any of these. And these pieces here were ungrouped. Okay, I ungrouped everything. So just to make sure that I get everything where it should be, I'm going to come to my my layers, and I'm going to select the blue layer and select the blue layer, and everything that's on the blue layer I'm going to group. And then I'm going to group that layer with this vector, and I'm going to group those. And now, that's out of the way. Now I can move that around and place it where I want to, and the blue, what do you want to call them? Holes, I suppose, are going to stay with the base piece. So now I'm just moving the other pieces into place, and I'm trying to get them as close as possible to one another so that I don't lose the I don't lose too much wood. What am I trying to say? I don't waste too much wood. Ooh, what's happened? Where did it go? Fit on screen. There you go. Got too excited with the mouse there. And I'm just using my arrow keys just to move these apart to make sure that I don't cut off something that I didn't want to. So now all of that's organised, I'm going to go to the canvas for the lid. And once again, I'm going to bring in my image, exactly the same. And this time I'm going to be getting rid of the smaller pieces. That's right. No, the larger. Yes, I'm getting rid of the smaller pieces. I'm keeping the larger pieces. Had to think there for a second. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to ungroup, and I'm just going to make sure I'm ungrouped, because the only thing I want at the moment, I want that out the way, and the pieces I want are these in the top row here, so I can delete these pieces and that, and I can go in and select the blue layer and just delete it. Yes, I do. I'm happy to confirm that I want to delete the layer and all the objects on it. Let's close that up so I can see what I'm doing. And now I can just bring these pieces back to where I want them. Just arrange them, just holding down my up arrow key. See, this is a feature that Lightburn has that Xtool doesn't, and that's the ability to dock pieces. And I think it's about one of the very few things that Lightburn does that I want Xtool to do. I know Lightburn does all sorts of wonderful things, has wonderful features, but I don't use them. And to be honest, I can live without the dock feature. Life is just a little bit easier if it's present. All right, so having done that, I am going to save this document before I go any further. Now, if I wanted to take the lid off every time I wanted to get a pair of gloves out, this would be fine as it is. But I want a gap in the top of the box. I want a hole in the top of the box so that I can just reach in and pull out a pair of gloves whenever I need them. So I've measured the bit that you pull away on the cardboard boxes, and they're different sizes and different shapes, as you would imagine. But the one I'm going to replicate, I think, is going to be a rectangle that is, we draw that in there. So it needs to be, and I'm going to make sure that the aspect ratio is unlocked, because I'm going to type in 120 by 50, and I'm going to give it a corner radius of, let's go with 10%. Let's see how that looks. Come here, come on. That's better. So let's have a 10% radius and see how that looks. And that looks about right. So at the moment, this looks a bit like the window in a window envelope, which is not what I want. So I'm going to select the rectangle that I made, and I'm going to select the lid of the box, and I'm going to come up here to align and align center. And once again, I'm going to save. So this is the point at which I need to decide whether or not I'm going to add any engraving to the lid of my box. And I'm going to go away and think about it. And when I come back, you will know whether I decided to add some decoration to my box or whether I decided to leave it plain. So when I come back, it will be time to put the wood onto the laser and cut the box out. And as you can see, I did decide to add some engraving to the top of the box, just because why not? So I'm ready now to set the parameters and to get it to go to my laser. So let's begin with the black layer. And let's pull up the layers menu, because I want this to apply to everything on the black layer, and this is going to be cut, and I'm going to use 3mm birch ply. Okay, so I can't find it in the list there, so I'm going to go to more X-Tool materials, and I'm going to add birch plywood, 3mm birch plywood, and there is the download. So let me click on that. So from here I can check which machine I'm using. I'm using a D1 Pro, and my laser is 20 watts, and I want it to cut, so I'm going to open that in X-Tool Creative Space, and it tells me it's added in the material. So that should work pretty well. Now I confirm that I've added it, and there it is telling me what power settings I need, and it set them automatically. And I'm going to go for so their recommendation is speed of 4, power of 100. I'm going to accept that and see where we go. Right, so Now I'm going to look at the red layer, and I want to engrave this layer, and I have the birch plywood settings here, so I would like a reasonably dark engrave here, so I'm going to click that option and it's automatically set the parameters for me. The outline, I'm going to leave it where it is because I did think about turning off the output, but actually if I set this with a power level of 1 and a speed of 80, it will whiz round the outside of my project, but it won't actually cut anything because the power levels are too low, and it's not going to mark anything. It's not going to do any harm. So having done all of that, I am now ready to hit process, and it's warning me that I've set my power low. Do I really mean it? Yes, I do. So I'm going to ignore that. And here I am ready for preview. So it's going to take me, it says, its estimate is 26 minutes. We'll see how close it gets to that. I've set the start point at my top left corner. And okay, so once I hit start, I'm going to stop speaking and turn off the sound because it's going to get noisy in here. I'm not going to leave my laser because I'm working with a material that could quite easily catch fire, and I'd really rather not have that happen. So I'm going to stay in my craft room next to my D1, and I'm just going to carry on working on some projects that I've got going on my computer, and I will be back when I've done this layer and also the base layer. Okay. Plywood set up on the base of my laser. Blue light for framing is flashing, so let's just check that everything the complete outline. I'm going to bring that in just a little bit because I think I'm a little bit near to the edge there, so let's try again. So the first attempt at doing a burn of this project, the D1 decided that it really liked the previous project that I'd done and it was going to burn that one again. So this does happen, and when it does, what you need to do is locate the TF card, and I'm kind of doing this by braille, so I hope that you can see where I am. Tilt that a little bit so you can see my enormous finger. Let's move that back a bit, and you just locate the T1 card, give it a press, take it out. There it is. It's just a little tiny micro SD card, and then you pop it back in again, and it's a lot easier to do than it is to show. Now if that doesn't work, I think the advice on the Xtool page is maybe try a new card. It needs to be no bigger than 32 gigabit. I've ordered one, but for today I'm not using Wi-Fi. I'm going to use USB, which should sort the problem out. Okay, happy with that. So here's where I ran into more trouble. The last time I cleaned the lens on my D1, I obviously didn't tighten the grub screw that keeps the air assist nozzle in place, and towards the end of the burn it slipped, and this is the result. It left a very nasty gummy mess on the nozzle because obviously it was burning resins and glue from inside the plywood, and it completely fried the lens cover. It just fell apart when I took the cover off. I haven't even got a photograph to show you. It just went ping, and it just disintegrated. So I cleaned everything, put a new lens cover on, crossed my fingers that I hadn't done any permanent damage, and tried again. And here's the final product. Sorry, I did not film the gluing together bit because by then I was feeling well stressed. But it's pretty straightforward. I just applied glues to all the surfaces that were going to be sticking together and then held the thing together with strong elastic bands while it all glued up. And as you can see, the top fits very nicely onto the bottom. I did give the bottom a light sanding just to make sure that everything went together smoothly, and I was feeling pretty happy until I tried to put the gloves into the box. They don't fit. And that was where I should have made sure that I deselected that use outside measurement option in Boxes.Py. So the Boxes.Py took the measurements I input as the exterior, and I don't know if you can see, but it did a pretty good job. It's pretty exact. So the base of the box is too small for my gloves box. If I'd had any sense, I would have made a cardboard prototype and tested out the measurements on that. And if I'd done that, I would have spotted the mistake and adjusted accordingly, but I didn't, so lessons learned here. So I can't fit this box of gloves inside because it's a little bit narrow, and when I was measuring up, I was trying to allow for the possibility of I can't fit this box inside because when I measured up, I took all the boxes I possessed and found out what was the largest dimension so that the box might be too big, but it wouldn't be too small. Famous last words. For the one that's completely destroyed here, what I think I will do is get a plastic bag, fit it inside the base of the box, and then just pull my gloves out from inside the plastic bag, and I think that'll work fine. And I'm going to make at least one more of these boxes. Hopefully that will fit the glove boxes this time, because as you can see, I have several boxes of disposable gloves kicking around the house, and it would be nice to keep them all nice and neat and tidy. So I make these mistakes so you don't have to. So there it is, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do click the thumbs up button below. If you'd like to see more, then click on the subscribe button. It is absolutely free, but it really helps my channel. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.